Good night, everyone. It's November 26, 2020. And with this, we start the show Confirmado la Moncloa, a review of the Spanish political situation. It will be around 30 minutes long to focus on a few ideas. As always, we will start with the comment of the day. Today's comment is related to sports. Maradona's death. Some may ask themselves, what does it have to do with the political situation? Some of us create programs of what we feel, like we have mentioned today on Twitter, that in the year 1986, when I was studying and watching the World Cup of FIFA in Mexico, and the hand of God appeared. Who doesn't know what it means can search it in internet. It's really easy. Maradona was able to pull over so many people. Not as much in Barcelona as he did in Naples and Argentina. He was a hope, a dream for many. Though in the end, he did get into difficult situations for not keeping the feet on the ground. This has taken him to a premature death. May he rest in peace. For many of us, the best football player, there has been many great players, but none capable of bringing a common team to stardom as he did. And the metaphor of his life with politics is that not only was he capable of his art, his football, how he played, but the view he had of football and how he was capable of transmitting it to people, but the way he was able to manage a team to make it achieve landmarks it would have never achieved without him. Sometimes individualities make teams, and many times those that are considered teams are not much more than just individualities. With the metaphor of Spain, here in Spain, we don't have team nor individualities. What we have here in Spain, it's only unsuccessful people that think they know how to play ball, and what they only do is bother the nuts. We will start with today's headlines. The first headline would be hatred towards Madrid. Mr. Sanchez and also Minister Illa, weeks ago and months ago, has been for political reasons, not sanitary, for whomever had any doubts. The second headline is the cutback of the bonus of the pensioners. Around 75,000 will be affected. The third headline is the Christmas decisions have been delayed by Minister Illa to next week. Will we have a curfew? What curfew? What time will it be? How many people will be able to group together? And what other regulations will be applied? From the Ministry of Healthcare has asked the autonomous communities to meet next week. The fourth headline is the Minister, Mrs. Montero, crying. Some of us think that when you get to minister, it's not to cry. Maybe the restaurants and the bars, or the people from the hotels that have to close, or maybe even freelancers are the ones who should be crying. And the fifth headline, it's about the doubts of the vaccines for COVID-19. It's not sure if a massive vaccination is going to be positive or not, when we don't know if there are going to be negative effects. We will get into the first headline, the hatred towards Madrid. Even the political party ERC, Esquerra Republicana de Catalunya, is going to decide about the taxes of Madrid. Or so it seems. When in reality, if there is a different tax system, is in the Basque country. But no one talks about it. Remember, the Basque Nationalist Party is the first ally of the Spanish government right now. Remember that the Basque Nationalist Party is capable of agreeing with anyone just to keep their tax advantages, even with Bildu. It's a bit surprising that the political party ERC treat Madrid like dirt. It is even more surprising that the PSOE, the Social Democrats, and the government of Pedro Sánchez is leaving the Social Democrats of Madrid on their own and stigmatized. Pedro Sánchez himself is even admitting they are going against Madrid. And remember, they already did so in the sanitary aspect, and it didn't go well for them. Saying that Madrid was the worst, that it had to be closed, that they were doing it so wrong. And the results were just the opposite. They were good. It's the autonomous community that's doing it better, managing better, and that has better numbers. Probably because of the president of the autonomous community, Mrs. Ayuso, and also thanks to the communication of Miguel Ángel Rodríguez. He is good with communication, something he already demonstrated with José María Aznar. We must admit that Miguel Ángel Rodríguez was born in the politics thanks to the criticism to Aznar. He hasn't come from a family of typically civil service like others have done, or a person that has always moved around ministries. He's only someone that, in his moment, in the government of Castilla y León, told the things right up front to Aznar. And Aznar thought he was good. Something as simple as merit. Something that seems forgotten in this country. And what we've always said, to manage a good communication, you simply have to keep your feet on the ground. And it seems like the results of the autonomous community of Madrid and also its communication have their feet on the ground. Something that other autonomous communities don't have, and it seems that it pisses off Mr. Sánchez a lot. That he started against Madrid first with a sanitary reasoning, which wasn't sanitary and really political, and now with a tax system. Who knows what he will do next? And it will only make the socialists to lose even more in Madrid. Because we have to remember that Madrid, enough political representatives as for to some people to start to get nervous. Because without Madrid, the Spanish national government has a really big problem to govern. And one thing is to try to manage in a more uniform way or less. And another thing is to try and kill and try and humiliate an autonomous community and its citizens. And that is what it seems Sánchez is doing in a desperate manner and pattern, where Sánchez tries to pretend democracy just to keep in office and power. His only unique and awful goal is to perpetuate his power and staying in office in the government. Sánchez doesn't even care about the next Spanish elections. He just thinks that in 2 or 3 years he will be able to fool the citizens of Spain. But Sánchez forgets that when you try to kill a community like Madrid, and it's also the community that's offering the best results, you have another problem, a bigger one. Maybe Iván Redondo is a good communicator, as we said other times, but he hasn't reached the level of Miguel Ángel Rodríguez. And to keep the government, communication is essential. And it seems like Iván Redondo, every day, is just losing out of sight the reality not only of Madrid, but of all of Spain. Inventing, saying things that aren't real, is the communication of someone who only knows the theory. But the people, the citizens, the everyday life, what we want are results. And the results aren't offered or given by Iván Redondo. They are being offered and given by Madrid. It's the only autonomous community and getting strengthened. This makes it difficult for Pedro Sánchez's government. The second headline, the one about the pensioners, 75,000 of them are being affected. Reasons? Because of garnishments that haven't been done correctly? Well, if they haven't been done correctly, that's their problem, not the pensioners. You can communicate the things before doing them right, or you can do them the wrong way and nothing happens. It's surprising. There are many collectives where some pensioners and some civil servants are included that think only about themselves. They are not capable to empathize with the rest of the citizens. As long as they get paid, they think nothing is going wrong. So, to those 75,000 pensioners, please see, it's the first sign, it's not really the first one, but the first one for them to see that things aren't going well, as the newspaper El País has published. That has published as if this was the first sign. The number of pensioners has decreased. Think about it. It's really because of the number of deaths. And the deaths haven't just fallen out of the sky. They've occurred because of the negligent, terrible management of the central government. So, not only the number of pensioners has been reduced, but also the bonus. Who else is the government going to find against themselves when they touch the civil servants' salary? Or is the government maybe going to do the cutbacks of the civil servants after approving the national budget, thinking they're going to govern at least the 3 years? And after 2 years, increase again the salary? We should anticipate to the news. When is this government going to reduce in a drastic way the civil servants' salary? Before approving the national budget? No. The government will do it after, thinking they have margin of 2 years to increase it again. Because this government works like this, with lies, tricks, planning, which is worse than the lies and the tricks. And we enter into the third headline, the one about the decisions to make about the Christmas restrictions. It seems like the autonomous communities and the Minister Illa didn't reach an agreement. They haven't decided about the curfew hour of the 24th and the 31st of December, nor about the number of people that can be gathered, if 6 or 10. Not all of the autonomous communities agree on this. It's normal that the autonomous communities that are managing the situation in a good way are not agreeing. It seems like the Spanish government that has left the communities to themselves to do whatever they can, however they can, without helping. Now, trying to impose a regulation is not well taken. And the Minister Illa changing its mind and saying one thing at 1 hour and an hour later saying the opposite is just totally normal with this government. And now Minister Illa is giving 1 week of margin for the communities to decide and then make a decision. Because, of course, when someone gets a reservation to leave for Christmas holidays the day before, no, people don't do that. Maybe Pedro Sanchez and the ministers are used to it just improvising. Remember that Minister Ábalos, when he went to the Canary Islands to see what was going on with the illegal immigration, he took advantage and stayed in a 5-star hotel with his family, his security and friends a few days, when he is being paid from public money. It seems like the ministers and the president, since they just don't follow the rules and they just improvise, nothing matters to them. They have lost sight of the reality of this country. Something that every day is just seen as something more normal and just confirms the drift of this government. And now we enter into the fourth headline, Minister Mrs. Montero's crying. It's okay to cry. It's nothing wrong, but maybe she should have cried for those restaurants, those bars, those hotels, for all of those businesses that have to shut down. But that would imply having humanity. and being able to go to the street with no problem, but seems like she's unable to do so because of her incompetence. A minister can't be crying for everything or for any single reason. A minister can get emotional when things go wrong, when things go really bad, but make a show as if a teenager because she has problems at home or with the partner. Then no, you have to cry at home. But you can't cry as a minister. And a minister in this situation has to be there to support the businessmen, to support the bars, to support the restaurants, the hotels, but not just cry like she did for other things. Or does she not know what's the reality? Because, as we said many times, the problem of this government is the incompetence of knowing the reality of the situation in Spain. And we challenge Mr. Sanchez, Iglesias, even Avalos, to go to a street in an important city or a big one and drink a coffee with no security. Because we received a video of Mr. Sanchez arriving to Mallorca that we haven't published because we felt so ashamed. Because you see American movies of the president, the most exaggerated ones, and you don't see so much security as you have seen in this video. Not only exaggerating the number of security, but also the cars. In some countries in Europe, the minister or the president simply goes with his car and the car of the security. In the video we didn't publish in Mallorca, Sanchez had 15 cars of security. Is he afraid to put the feet on the ground? They simply live in a parallel universe. And remember, we talked about the representatives like Aceves and others that haven't given their declaration of assets, and Meritxell Batet, the president of the Congress, hasn't said or done a single thing. It's such a shame that she doesn't use the regulations of the representatives to sanction those that don't comply with what the regulations say. Meritxell Batet, what do you think you're doing there? Only to be with the President Sanchez and with the Minister of Justice? That, by the way, the Minister of Justice is having a relationship with Meritxell Batet? This just seems a soap opera. Or like the Vice President having a relationship with one of the ministers. This is something to be explained to any international media. This just seems a soap opera. Their bad relationships are only between the ministers and the ones that are put in the Congress and all? Do they only trust those with who they sleep with? And please, we insist you write every day to the representatives of the Congress and the Senate, so they reply, so they know the reality. And see if someone does reply. Like we have one of the representatives, a woman, that replied that she's just so busy with the national budget. We've seen her curriculum and her statement of assets, and we think she doesn't have the capacity to worry about the national budget. Because we think she doesn't understand what is a budget. Because some people in the Congress think that their only job is just to vote when they have to, ignore reality, and just put the hand at the end of the month to get their salary. Because they have no other ability. And we enter into the fifth headline. The doubts of the vaccines. It seems like the vaccines aren't giving that much confidence right now. It seems like the pharmaceuticals ask to have no responsibility if there's any negative side effects or anything goes wrong with the vaccines. And it seems like many doctors and professionals are saying that pharmaceuticals that have never done a viable product are obtaining millionary contracts for vaccines that they will not take responsibility for. Let's see how the obligation of vaccination works, and we hope no surprises occur, at least none bad ones. But we do think that if everything has a time and a protocol and everything, vaccines should have them too. And if here in Spain we managed the first wave terribly with President Sanchez, and even the second one, it seems like being in a hurry isn't going to help us. In the end, businesses are going to continue dying freelancers are gonna still keep shutting down, and everything, even if the vaccines work, is going to still be going really bad. We're entering into a really, really bad phase with a really bad government and negligent, a government that is adrift, that it seems like is just accelerating the fall of the government, and seems like the government of Pedro Sánchez is just satisfied attacking Madrid and keep his partners happy so he can stay in the government. And that, for some of us, isn't democracy. It's a shameful way of having a pay at the end of the month for something that they don't even manage to do well. And what's worse, they just leave the country in total disaster. As always, you can collaborate with Patreon, the bank transfer, and the YouTube account. Also remember, from the other day, we have the website confirmadolamoncloa.com. Also the email account confirmadolamoncloa@gmail.com. And we will keep working. And as we say, stick around, or like we say in Spain, seguimos.